talk that shit with the twins, your homie Twinenterprise.
Celebrity Barber Raheem.
A little bit of conversation therapy.
And we're gonna talk that shit today. You know
what it is. You know, we all about helping the LLCs and passing the resources and just keeping it positive and just on the lookout for the community. We just trying to look out, stay
mixing
positive.
a little bit of this barbering with this mentoring. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be in and out these schools. You're gonna see us in the funeral homes, senior citizen homes, daycares. We are here to connect with the minds of others, y'all. We are here to help the people, y'all.
That's what we do. That's what we do. You know, woke up, the sun was out. The sun was out, y'all. You know, feeling right. Got my body feeling right. The pain in my bones was gone. I mean, the only person I can think of was my homie, you know what I'm saying, that I knew for like 20-something years, my homie CLAY MOOREFIELD, you know what I mean? But he's like one of the top fitness trainers out here to me in PA, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, you want to look right?
The sun had me thinking about my health and how important health is wealth, you know what I mean? And how important we should talk to the youth about that too, because it starts at a young age, you know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to reach out to my man CLAY, and I wanted him to, you know, just tell us a little bit about, you know, what got you into fitness, what got you into health, you know what I mean? What just got you into what you're doing right now?
Because I know a lot of
you created SKNDP. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is CLAY MOOREFIELD, co-owner of Club Elevation, owner of Goals Oriented Training, co-owner of Circulate Studios, co-owner of Skin Deep LLC, and clothing brand Skin Deep and Success Driven Clothing Brand. To get into the fitness thing, it started as a young age. I've always been an athlete. I played basketball, I ran track, and I was a gymnast. I was really good at gymnastics, which probably was my favorite.
What you doing, like jumping up, doing the splits on that little skinny thing? Like
never. Floor work, man, backflips and all that fly shit, man. Not no splits. No, but really, what it came down to was I found the training in prison. It was on my 4 years of an 11-year sentence. Not 11 years, but 11-year total time in prison. I was doing my second stint was a 4-year sentence. And one of the institutions I was at had personal training as a certification. And before I even got into it, I made some mistakes before. Some other prison sentences, I was in federal prison. All my time was federal prison, and I was all over the country. I was in Kentucky twice. I was in a place in West Virginia.
They're shipping you around, huh?
Yeah.
My first gladiator school, cuz.
A little bit. It really wasn't. It wasn't the maximum, but it was mediums down to lows, down to a minimum on the last 4-year stretch. But the mistakes that I made was at the other facilities. In prison, I was always looking at what program they had that could help me once I get released. Mm-hmm. Living a life of crime. I was in the streets. I was a drug trafficker. Mm-hmm. Living that life, I always accepted the fact that death in prison came with it. Yeah. It sounds sad, but I accepted it. Mm-hmm. It was one point I was willing to die over it, and I knew jail came with it, so I just accepted it. And the thing that was that made that acceptable to my mind is that I was raised like that in the streets. Mm-hmm. The guys that were older than me, once you got into that lifestyle, they kind of schooled you. It wasn't like handing you drugs and guns and just throwing you to the wolves. Right. They didn't want you to they didn't want you in the streets, first and foremost. During school hours, we couldn't be cutting school and out selling drugs. Right. If you was cutting school, you had to hide until it was after school, or you wasn't even allowed on the block.
So it was a structure.
That's when we had structure.
It was a structure. It was a structure to the street life. So the guy just, if you're gonna get into this life, this is what happened. There's robberies, there's breaking and enters, your door might get kicked in, there's kidnappings, there's jail, and there's death. They was just basically letting you know all of the stuff that came from, a lot of the cutthroat stuff that came with it, and we accepted it. So fast forward, went to prison.
We live and learn.
Went to prison, and while I was in Kentucky, the one prison had welding. Right. So I got certified as a welder. Right. I went to another facility, had HVAC in college. I took some college courses, and I became a certified HVAC technician. Then I ended up getting released. Wow. When I got released from prison, I did 7 years that time. And the things that I got certified in, I just did it because my mind craves education, and I wanted to better my life. I was away from my kids. My daughter's mom was, the mother of my daughter, she was pregnant at the time. So my daughter was born in prison, and my son was 5 years old. So I had a 9-year sentence. I had to do 7 years off of it. So I was gone her whole life in 7 years. I come home age 12.
Mixture of different types of pain, like
yeah, and the certifications in school, in prison, was it hard getting in the programs?
It was a waiting list. I mean, you just had to get on a waiting list, and the waiting list might have been a year, depending on how many people at that institution, and also with your time. If you was closer to going home, they would let you bump past somebody who might got 15 years left, but wanted the program. So it was like a waiting list, and it was also kind of like depending on when your release date is. But I didn't have no interest in those crafts. I just wanted to do it because they were saying you could make a specific amount of money. And at that time I was thinking of more so working initially and then branching off and doing my own thing.
Exactly.
Just keeping yourself busy too.
Yeah, keeping yourself busy, definitely. So I come home, and the biggest mistake I made was surrounding myself with the same people.
Exactly.
I didn't separate myself from my thug homies, man.
So
the guys that we've been through everything together.
All the negative energy just sitting on you.
It's there.
All these evil spirits just sitting right in the
like
same
this
room.
is my homie
And we
for
know
10,
that-
20 years. I don't want to just say.
And we know this, y'all barbers, so we know the statement, if you go to the barber shop enough, you're going to end up getting the cut.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the cut. I stayed in the streets until I ended up messing around again and ended up getting busted again and going back to prison. So the second time I went back, I was sentenced to 5 years, but then I ended up on doing 4. But I'm going to tell you, man, when you know your potential and you make the same mistake again, there's no pain like that. Like I'm looking in this mirror that's a metal plate. You barely can see your reflection. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this dull image of myself, and it was the right image because I was dull. I wasn't my sharpest. You feel me? My vision wasn't clear. I was allowing my desires to make me chase stuff, and it took precedence over me being a father, a son, a brother, and an upright person in a society. So the first 6 months of my second sentence was worse than the whole 7 years.
Right. Wow.
The whole 7 years, the first 6 months was the worst of all the jail time. So I ended up going to this prison called Loretto. It's a little bit up by Johnstown. So once I got in there, I always read and studied and stuff like that. So they had a personal trainer's course up there. And before I got involved with it, I said, why? Why are you gonna get involved with it? So, I always been a whiz at math and science, and I always wanted to help people. And I was working out also, and I kind of got my body together and stuff during my first jail sentence, and I maintained it. So after putting those things together, you put science in a pot, math in a pot, helping people in a pot. I stirred the pot up, a personal trainer came out of it. So that's how I wanted to get involved with personal training. But what really separated me from everybody else, right, is aside from those 3 things, our community, the African American community, are some of in the worst shape out of all ethnicities, right? So when I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at me being a person who destroyed the community at one time, and I was a drug dealer, so I was destroying the community. So upon coming back home, I was going to focus on the inner cities, the same communities I was destroying. I'm going to help build back up. I want to help give, I want to give back, but I want to give back in a way that it's long extended. The reach is super far. You feel me? So that was one. Also, the statement how other ethnicities say you want to hide things from blacks. You put it in a book, right? And this is true to an extent because there's not a lot of people don't read books. So for me, I'm like, all right, I love to read. So I'll take up the task to read the books and pass the information on to my people, right? And then alongside with that is where we take a negative statement about us and make it positive. CP time, all right? They always say black people's late, right? So anybody that trains with me or do anything with me, they'll let you know I'm never late. I'm never late, and I hold them accountable.
Money's time.
Right?
That's how I feel with my
and I hold them accountable for that. They come into the gym late, they hear about it. It's not just acceptable to me, right? Because anything that surrounds us as a people that's negative, we got to dispel it. We got to get rid of it.
Nip it in the bud from the beginning.
From the beginning.
So you get the respect from the door.
You got to get that.
So the next time they come, they like, he don't play.
Right. And one thing about anybody that trains with me, right? When they come into the facility to train with me, they enter into my environment. It's my culture.
Your world.
The way that you work out, the intensity that you work out, the energy that I give out, it's my culture. And if it's something that you can't handle, then I'm just not the trainer for you.
Hey, bro, I had a workout with you a couple summers ago. It was intense. But it took so much stress off me. But not just that. I did something that I thought I would never do before. I never thought that I would be able to do all that. And probably could have kept going. But the more I kept telling myself, dang, I got trouble breathing or something like that. That's what killed me, but
and
I
then
really
you take
did
a
it.
short, and then you take a short break and gather yourself.
And then I looked at people that was way bigger than me, and they did it because they was consistent with it. You know what I mean?
And there's a statement, right? And I want y'all to always remember this. The body could do amazing things. It's the mind you got to convince, right?
I always tell people, if you ain't right mentally, you ain't gonna be able to move physically.
Period.
You want.
Period. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I look at people that I train with that work really hard, right? They work hard at everything, right? So this is something I just try to get people to do. And I had many clients tell me since they've been training with me, they're on time for everything now. Their appointments and everything. They're more structured. They're able to move through their days a lot better. So for me, that's what it's about. The body transformation, that's going to happen. That's just a byproduct of your work.
Yeah.
You work hard, you eat right, your body's going to transform. It just, your body's going to follow you where you take it.
What about the ones who's in an intense workout and 2 months went past and we might see a difference with them, but they don't see a difference in themselves? How do you keep them confident and how do you keep them going? Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, so they won't lose it.
Know why most people don't see a difference in themselves? Because we look at ourselves every day. It's like watching paint dry. You'll never see it yourself until like you really could see some big results, but we're always going to see it because you don't see nobody every day. So you might see somebody a month later and be like, wow, you lost some weight. But they know because their pants is getting bigger. Their bras is getting bigger. Their underwear is getting bigger. They know it, but they're not seeing it. And if a person's like, the scale could be your enemy, right? Because you could lose weight and build muscle and the scale never drops.
Right.
So what if a person that loves working out, right? Not really, not big or stocky. They're nice petite. You know what I mean? Not too big. I say Bruce Lee built, right? They want to work all the time. They want to watch what they eat, but they scared of losing more weight and them working out. So how do they stay toned and eating the right foods, watching what they eat?
Because a lot of people think that they're thin built like us. They don't think they're supposed to work out. They're not supposed to keep their spinal cord straight, their knees moving. Because the older you get, a lot of stuff gets, it's like rust, like things just get stuck. Like, you know what I mean, if you don't move. So what do you get about that?
So fitness is not just about the look, right? Because there's internal changes that's happening. And this is what I try to tell everybody, because my training company is called Goals, GOALS. It stands for Getting on a Lifetime System. I try to make everybody understand that it's more than just the look. Because for me initially, when I went to jail, it was like, all right, get my body right, go home better. You know what I mean? I tell people that I'll be 45 in a few days, but I always tell people I'm 33 forever, right? Because I tell them I went to jail, I'm like Captain America, jail preserved me. I came out smarter and I came out in better shape, right? So I just use that analogy because honestly, I don't really look different from when I was in my early 30s. I got some grays, the kids put little grays on me, some life put some grays on me, but as far as how I feel, how I look the same, you feel me? So I try to get people to understand that there's internal changes that's happening, your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, your resting heart rate, your lungs, your capillary density. Like there's a lot of things that's transforming that you can't see it, but you'll only be able to tell when you start getting physicals on a regular basis. Okay. But for somebody that's small, if you can lift weights, you might not, if you want to gain some weight, you got to put some calories in. You got to eat. You got to lift weights, and you got to put calories in. Calories in is going to give you. All right, let's do a little quick math. I'm not trying to hold up the whole thing with math, but 3,500 calories is 1 pound, right? So if a person works out and burns 800 calories, and they want to gain a pound over a specific amount of time, they have to put in 35 more hundred calories than they burn off to gain 1 pound. Yeah. You feel me?
That's
so.
Crazy.
Yeah, and your metabolism and stuff comes into play with that. But people that are small and have high metabolism, I have a hard time gaining weight. But I don't really care. I care about how I look more than anything. So if the scale drops a couple pounds, the scale go up a couple pounds, who cares? As long as my body is in a way that's pleasing to me, and I'm able to run fast and long, I'm able to lift heavy and a lot of reps, like it's good for me. So it don't really matter. So somebody that's small, I just tell them they got to eat. You got to eat for what you want. Right? Even somebody that want to drop the pound, they got to burn off 3,500 more calories than they put in.
Y'all hear what it is. My health is wealth. Like,
it's all about taking care of yourself.
Take care of your body.
I know me being a barber, I know I'm on my feet, my legs all day, using my hands, my arms. So I know doing push-ups and maybe doing squats sometimes before I
Charlie horses. I get the Charlie horses.
Makes me feel a little better. You know what I mean?
Is that because the blood ain't flowing right? Like,
So the Charlie horse is usually it's a cramp, right? So there's 4 chemicals that make up a muscle contraction. When one of them's lacking, this is where cramping come from. Water, you could be dehydrated. You have a lack of potassium, a lack of calcium, or a lack of sodium. So one of those 4 chemicals is deficient when you catch a cramp. So that's what's happening when you catch cramps. It's happens. Like when I catch cramps, it's usually from a really intense workout. And I usually get them in my arms. I don't really get them in my leg. I usually get them in my arm, like doing back or arms. And then I'm super dehydrated because I put out so much water from sweating and I didn't put enough back in. But then I down a couple bottles of water and it just goes away.
The weirdest shit though, when I get a Charlie horse, I don't even like hot ass showers. I take a hot ass shower and my skin's red, but it takes the Charlie horse away. Why do you think that happens in a hot shower?
I don't know. It may be from relaxation. I mean, something hot usually like relaxes the muscle and it elongates them. So, when you're tense, your muscles are tight. So before you work, you're supposed to warm up. So your muscles are tight and constricted like this. So once you get to moving around and warming, your blood gets to flowing, your muscles get to elongate and stretch out and have more range of motion and more they move more smooth and move better.
Eat more bananas, y'all. Eat bananas, y'all.
Hey, and stay tuned. You know what I mean? We got a little commercial break. You know what I mean? And we're gonna get back on some real talk that shit with the twins. You know what I mean?
We'll be right back with you with Clay.
This episode of Real Talk with the Twins is brought to you by the Lincoln Rams Athletic Association, a program providing a safe and positive outlet for kids, working to change the minds of the youth by challenging, guiding, and teaching student athletes to be positive leaders in life.
You know what it is. Back at it, talk that shit, your homeboy Twin Prize.
Celebrity Barbara Raheem, you know what I'm saying?
Back at it with my man, homie Clay, you know what I mean, Moorfield, and we is talking about the health and how health is important and how to stay fit.
Take care of yourself, son.
Just take care of yourself. Try to stay stress-free and everything. Before I get to these couple questions that I got to ask my homie, I want to know, because we ain't touch on this, like, how old was you when you went down, like when you got locked up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so my first go-round was 24. I was 24 years old, man, and that was my first long, so I got some arrests before, but same thing. You get down to county, they call the homies, they come bail you out. Right. But this time there wasn't no bail. The feds came and scooped me, put a detainer on me. Next thing I know, I ain't see streets again. So I was 31. I was 24 years old, and I came home that time for a year and I had a little less than a year and a half. Ended up going back for another sentence. I had to do another 4 years. Wasn't even home from 2001 to 2013. I was home for about 15 months.
Shit looked totally different when you came back.
Yeah, it's totally different, and people really need that. This is really, really important for everybody because every family got somebody like me.
Yes.
Right? I'm your father, I'm your brother, I'm your cousin, I'm your homie. Right? Mm-hmm. There's one of me everywhere. Yes. But what we need to do when somebody come home, it's kind of a culture shock, right? Because it's traumatizing for a lot of individuals. Coming home, on my way home, my brother came to pick me up from Kentucky. It's the winter. So we driving, the highway's all snowy and crazy. So we go to see my mom. My mom don't even know I'm getting out this day. So we slide past the crib. When I'm riding through the hood where we used to trap at, everything, all the buildings was knocked down. Fucked me up. Because I'm expecting to ride past and see Cove City, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing.
I remember Cove.
There's nothing, right? I'm like, yo, fucks me up, right? So then I get to my mom's crib. She moved to a house. She's not in the same crib. So I knocks on the door and shit. So she comes to see me, hugs and kisses me and shit. But just that, and then going downtown to the renewal center, all the names of the bus. When I went to jail with the 56B, it was all these different names and shit. So
it was the EVA, now it's the P1.
Right, so everything was just changed, and just the face of the town had a facelift. So it kind of fucked me up. But in my head, I'm like, I gotta get reacclimated to society. So I started moving around, just learning landmarks and shit. Was new here, how different the neighborhoods were. I used to just drive around the city and just try to learn my way around and learn what was going on.
Some dudes come home lost.
But you figure it, right? I went to jail in 01, right? The first time. When I went to jail, the Hard Knock Life album was coming out. Ooh, yeah. Right? So when I'm on my way home, niggas got skinny jeans and shit, like Dipset and them was pumping. Yeah. Know what I mean? So it was completely different. Back when I go in, there's big ass baggy clothes and shit. You come home, boots, everything fit. Yeah. Feel me? So just certain things with fashion, with people's not there no more. What really woke me up when I was in prison. I called my niece. Her name is Isha. It's my little sister. So her daughter's the same age as my son. So I wrote her a letter, her daughter, and her daughter was like, "Hey, that's my favorite uncle," right? She's seen a picture. So her mom said, "Write him back." So she wrote me a letter. "Hey, uncle, I miss you so much. And we used to take us to Chuck E. Cheese. Can we go to Chuck E. Cheese when you can come back, blah, blah, blah." But my niece sent a picture of them when I left. And on the back of it was a picture of them 4 years later.
Wow.
So I takes the one picture off the top. I'm like, oh, shit.
Wow.
So I'm thinking I'm the only motherfucker aging.
Yeah.
Like every year I'm getting older, but you're not seeing life.
Yeah, you're saying like you just
So
know
you
what
not-
you know before you went in.
Right, you're not going through life and you're not seeing the whole transition.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in like a time warp, like stuck in a time shell.
Right.
So your mind is still in 2001, but you just imagine somebody do 20 years and they come out 20 years later.
Yeah.
Bro, that shit's fucked up. It's traumatizing. And people are like, damn, he went back. He couldn't handle it. But people don't have support systems.
So, and this is
set
where the
up.
one question at, and I should throw that in right now. How important is family? You know
Just
what I mean?
having a
Like-
support system,
Like
period.
how important is family?
Anybody I say is my friend is my family because I love them like that. You don't become my friend and I don't love you.
Right.
Right? So
Right.
when I say family and how important family, yeah, family is everything for me. That's how we was raised. You know, I got 11 brothers and sisters that come from my mom. You feel me? So it's just like being in a real close-knit family. I'm number 10. You know what I mean? I'm number 10. So just being around that environment, all we really knew was each other. And then, you know, coming up in the neighborhood, then like my family kind of had it a little rough because they was growing up in the Nation of Islam back in the 70s and shit.
Yeah, a lot
So
of people's.
going through all of these times with racial issues and shit like that, and even moving to a neighborhood where they were the only family where the women wrapped up and the guys dressed with bow ties and shit. It was strange. So they had to fight just for a practice that they was doing. So they had to like fight and shit a lot based off of that. So we were just really like close knit. So like that's just really embedded in us. So for me, it's at one time I was giving everybody a fair shot, right? As far as, you know, getting the opportunity to get to know who I was. But, you know, choosing a negative life and losing trust by being betrayed by some people that you loved, it's a lot harder for people. I'm kind of fucked up for the rest of my life as far as being able to trust a motherfucker. Motherfucker gotta be special.
I learned, but
To-
I also
to get
learned
close
that
to me.
family don't mean blood. You
No,
know what I mean? I
family
learned that
definitely
a
don't
lot.
mean blood.
When
No.
when I say family, I'm not talking about my first cousin over here, my grandma's cousin down here. I'm talking about the
Yeah.
people we grew up, like what we've been through, like, you know what I mean? And we don't gotta see each other every day.
Yeah, for sure.
And not
But when we
love
see
is
each other-
unconditional. It's gonna
and
be
when we see
like
each other, it's gonna
we've
be
been
live.
talking every day for 20 years straight. You know what I mean?
Bro,
no matter when we see each other.
I donated a kidney, and the guy I gave the kidney wasn't my family, but he my brother, like
Yeah,
my brothers.
Definitely,
Right.
definitely.
That
He
is
my
your
brother, like
yeah,
my brother.
definitely.
Right.
And when I told my mom I was giving him, and she's like, "Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's your brother." My mom, this is my mom. It was never not from one of my family members. Never was like, no,
Right.
because he they brother too.
But they understand the definition of
Yes,
what we
they
talking
definitely
about
understand
right
it.
now.
They definitely we
know?
love hard. We
Right.
love hard, and the same way you love hard, your pain usually is harder.
Harder.
You feel me? Because you pour in when you love, you pour in everything into a motherfucker.
And a lot
man.
of people look for it to reciprocate and to come back, but you ain't supposed to pour hoping that same porridge come back to you.
How'd
feel
you,
what I'm
how'd
saying?
you feel donating a kidney?
How'd I feel as far
Like
as
just after donating a kidney,
my body? How'd it feel?
your body,
or just
and
me?
mentally, like
Mentally it wasn't
blessing.
nothing.
It was a blessing to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, it was a big. I wouldn't have did it
Yeah.
if it really wasn't a blessing. You know what I mean? Because he my best friend. But the thing, it was normal to me. So people like hear the story. I'm like, oh my God, like that's so big. It wasn't that big to me. Like I understood my friend needed a higher quality of life because his body was shutting down, and I ain't trust nobody else to give him a kidney.
But you see what unconditional love do?
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing's big to us
That's
when we
real,
got
man.
unconditional
Yeah,
love
yeah,
for
for
one
sure.
another. You know
But
what I mean?
but you know, for me, it's like I would expect the next person to step up for their best friend or family
Their
member, but it
family
doesn't.
member. And it doesn't happen like that.
African Americans is the lowest ethnicity when it comes to donating organs. Like I know that, so UPMC kind of uses me as a connector to the
You know
neighborhood.
You know why they don't say organ donor on the ID? It's like when somebody say, you want to write up your will? You got life insurance. Why is people so scared to talk about death? and death is a part of life
It's
too.
a part of life.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we should talk about every day. Like, we used to sit at the kitchen table and talk about everything. I mean, everything, bro. Like, we don't do that no more. There wasn't a day we didn't call each other. Like, what's up? What you doing?
Right.
You coming out? Blah, blah, blah. That, like, the communication skill, man. Like, that goes a long way. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like when we start getting our own family, when we start going through our pain, our stress, our different obstacles in life, we start putting ourselves in dark places, and we start keeping to ourselves. We forgot where we came from, because you remember there was a time when money wasn't nothing. Right. It was just like, what's up, homie? What you doing? Yeah. And we'll take your $5, you put it with my $5, we take that $10, we put it with his, and we're gonna pitch in and we're gonna have. And that's what we live. We live for them days. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody
sad,
look bad.
Right?
Everybody look good.
And what y'all just did, right? That's important today, right? Because if we all have establishments and individually we making $1 million a piece, but together we can make 30 million, why wouldn't we collaborate? Mm-hmm. Right? And this is where the problems are coming in. There's too many egos.
People selfish.
Right? There's too many, but with the selfish, it's your ego. Mm-hmm. Your ego makes you selfish, right? Because it's like, if we could collaborate and make more money, why would we stay by ourselves and just be okay with where we at? Mm-hmm. So we got to get rid of that, because even if we collaborate, right, and y'all are the face of the business, I don't care. I'm getting the bag.
We all coming together.
But I'm getting the bag.
We're not conditioned. We're not in the household where this financial literacy, these grown man talks, they're watching their dad, they're watching their mom work together, or they're watching this brother and cousin work together at this store. Like, they're not seeing that. We see it, but we ain't seeing it like on a consistent basis. Right. So they don't think it can happen. Right. They don't hear it enough. You know what I mean? Right. So they don't believe it. Like, it's weird, right, but we know that, and that's what keeps us alienated.
And everything got to become repetition. Everything, right? Because with repetition, it becomes second nature. Right, so we have to. How many of us had lost a family member and people had to scramble to pay for the funeral?
Exactly.
The next person in line should have been like, I'm getting a life insurance policy to pay for this shit.
It's always going on.
Right, so we are turning a blind eye to a lot of important factors that's happening in life. Mm-hmm. Right, why the next person to die, we still scrambling to get their funeral together? Something should have changed. We're not learning lessons from the mistakes that's being made, right? We're just continually making the same mistake over and over again. When is it going to change? Who's going to be the person that step up and change the narrative, right? And this is where us as men and us as strong, great black women, we got to start learning from our mistakes and taking the lead of our families and changing the trajectory of the path that it's going.
Lead by example. We have to take lead.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
no matter how it comes, take that lead. Yeah. You fall a couple times, you fall. Like, take that.
You're going to fall.
You're going to fall.
You're going to have more downs than
ups. And get up.
Yeah.
Right? So, a real quick example of leading by example, right? I never wanted my kids, my son and my daughter, right? This is before my baby that I just had, my 2-year-old. So my son and daughter could never tell somebody, I seen my dad with 3 women, never, right? And the whole purpose of it was, I don't want my son to think womanizing was okay from his father. And I don't want my daughter to think it's okay for a man to womanize her and she just accepts anything. So my kids seen me probably with their mom and probably another woman, and it was a long-term relationship.
I can honestly say that too.
You feel me? So a person can't be like, oh my God, well, I see my dad with 20 women. No, you didn't. So you learn how to play based off of your generation and your friends. But when you talk about what you see your dad, and you see my dad, I see my dad with my mom, and I see my dad with a woman who he thought he was going to marry.
Right. They've been together
They ain't seen nothing else other than purposely. And women used to ask, well, I don't get to meet your kids. You're not going to meet her. You're not that person.
You're not that person, right?
Not at all.
Like, we got to put some time in for you to meet these people.
And a lot of people be messing up on that. Yeah. You know, they want that love so much.
I done dealt with women and said, yeah, you can come over, but my kids are spending the night. Oh, your kids spending, well, that's not the one I need to be with. Exactly what popped up in my head. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You shouldn't even feel comfortable. No matter how much this man or this woman make you feel in the beginning, it takes time. You know, I mean, to have somebody around your kid, because that person can seem like the greatest, but this can be the person that's going to damage something.
And we gotta think long term. We gotta think you gotta kind of think in like 5 years or greater, and then you'll stop making decisions based off of right now. Right? And I always get this analogy, right? I get this analogy to a lot of younger guys, because a lot of younger guys is caught up on finances. So I tell them, if you could put up $1,500 a month for 5 years, you'll have 90 bands. You have 90 bands in 5 years. I said, bro, you 21. At 26, you have 90,000. If you got a decent job, you got a decent credit score, you could go buy the house and car that you want. Yeah. And don't even really touch your money. Right? So
less than 5 years.
Now the wheels is turning. Right? Because I go at an angle that attracts them. Right? We chasing money. A lot of us are dying and died chasing something, financial. Yeah. So now when I talk to them like that, they like, oh, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible when you think down the line, because if you're not $1,000 away from 90, you ain't not gonna have that 90 tomorrow.
Right.
Nigga, you gotta work.
But that's what we did. We started from the bottom with everything.
If you're not hitting the lottery, you gotta have a long term. How many people's doing that? So you gotta really start thinking down the line, and your plans will start being different, because now you'll start having more of a set lifestyle. You'll have goals that reach the long-term goal. So it's just like everything got to start in the mind. Everything, you got to condition your mind, right? And you got to start opening your mind. Like, the mind is a terrible thing in the ways. We heard that when we was kids, and it's a fact, right? But when you start using your mind, the world opens up to you. When you start educating yourself, there's no limit on what your mind can start doing, because you got so much knowledge inside of you. You can open up doors.
Quit saying you can't do it.
Yeah, for real. So we got to start thinking about those behind us. And because I'm honestly, right, y'all barbers, me as a trainer, I mean, I'm pretty sure if we live selfish, we could go buy a big ass house. We could go buy a big ass car to be selfish and still put some money up. But when you thinking about the sacrificing for those behind you, it's like, why? Why would I go do that right now?
Because it wouldn't be fun.
Why would I do that right now? Now, I'm not saying a person don't get a nice house. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that be strategic in the way that you're planning things, and just understand that you got to pave a way. Because I don't want my son to have to go to. I don't want my son to do 11 years in prison. Yeah. I mean, about to be a race war because somebody sat in the wrong seat in the chow hall. I don't want nobody to go through that shit. Yeah. Like, you're about to literally, people got, blacks and whites got knives and shit. It's about to go down because a seat in the fucking kitchen. Yeah. Some shit we don't even own.
Shout out to the brothers and sisters that's locked up, man.
Yeah, for real, man. For real, that shit's real.
I got one question. We're going, this is the question that I ask all my peoples, you know what I mean, before we end this show, you know what I mean? How important it is to be genuine in the streets and just as a man and a woman.
Period.
How important, again, is it to be genuine?
That's a heavy question. Because when you asking somebody to be a genuine person in a corrupt lifestyle, it's hard. But your integrity is supposed to always be your integrity. You go into, if you was raised right, it's not hard. It's not hard because you go into a negative situation already with morals and values, right? But when you had a really rough life, some people had rough life, parents was on drugs and shit like that. So they had to legit get it how they lived. They was stealing shit at a young age. So they don't really have a sense of loyalty to nobody. Because where you first learn loyalty from, to be loyal to your mom and your dad. Like, that's really where this shit starts from. So when that aspect is missing, it's hard. They gotta learn to trust a motherfucker. Right. So it's like, who's gonna be the first person that they can trust? But when you got integrity and you're raised a certain way, it carries with you. You know what I mean? When I was in the streets, people always was like, yo, you and your brothers and sisters got such good manners, and it was just how we was raised. We always knew how to treat adults. We always knew how to treat other human beings.
And not overpower any little negative that you did or whatever. Just how genuine the family and how...
It did, but you still had to react when certain dumb shit happened.
Right.
So when you in that life and some dumb shit happens, you're gonna react based off of that dumb shit. So you still gotta.
Equal sign, they still gonna look at you like, hey man,
he did what he had to do.
He didn't do what he did.
He did.
A lot of people look at others that might put themselves in a negative position and look at them as a negative person.
And that's a stereotype that we earn.
Yes.
Because when you in that position, you really can't expect somebody to think highly of you. You selling drugs to every mom and dad and aunt walking down the street. You know what I mean? So people's going to feel some type of way about you.
Because you have to be a different person when you're out
You have to be a different person.
And it's kind of like fucked up. You're kind of like cruel a little
because
bit.
you'll be the person that got ran over.
Right. I don't care how low key you is. When you put your business out in Front Street, it's everybody's business.
It's everybody's business. So honestly, genuineness is going to actually carry in with you if you have it, right? And when you think of being genuine, I mean, what you think of just think of being authentically yourself, right? And unapologetically who you really are. That's being genuine as a person. But there's things that can happen in that life that can make you become somebody else. You know what I mean? If your best friend steals from you, how you gonna trust somebody else when the person that I love, I'd have gave the shirt off my back, stole from me, or shot you?
Because the
Like
person
there's
that's
people
in
that
my
got
immediate
killed.
family already stole from me.
There's people
But
that got
I
killed by
already
their best
made you
friend.
my family.
Bro, there's people that got killed by their best friend
Yeah.
for some money.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be damaged. You know what I'm saying?
Money, some pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just the question was a great question. I just really think that if you're raised right, the genuineness is actually going to fall in, and you're going to learn how to surround yourself with the right people. That's going to allow that to be continuous, because the wrong people will have you in a really secluded, shut down state. Like everybody that see me, they can't believe when they come into the gym and see how energetic I am and talkative. They be like, who is this dude?
Yeah.
Because I'm really secluded and I'm like really to myself outside of the gym.
And at the same
but
time, they
life
watching
took
you
you
grow.
there. Life took you to where you at.
Right, and I had to create a different image. Inside the gym, I'm different.
You're different.
I'm completely different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So so it's just
Sergeant Clay.
yeah,
Yeah,
but just the energy, you know what I mean? I just cared. People call it code switching. Just knowing when you're in certain environments how to, talk.
How to switch it up and
yeah,
how to
so when
change.
you're talking, like when I was the gym teacher up Schumann Center, they thought, oh, yeah, you just come here, do your job and go. I'm like, dude, jail time. I was a live nigga at once. Then they heard my story a little bit. I kind of shared a little bit. Now they come, oh, here, what we doing today?
Yeah.
They fuck with me.
Yeah.
So we're just having to understand the type of people I was dealing with and deal with them that way. And then when I'm going into these banks and dealing with these suits and ties, I'm
Just know
acting
how
like
to
a suit and
tune
tie.
in on
I
that.
know how to talk to
Y'all
them.
hear it. Y'all see what it is. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Real talk. We
Celebrity
talk that
barber right
shit,
here.
the real ones. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't give you a little bit on health and fitness.
With my
we
man
didn't
Clay
give you
Moorefield.
We didn't give you some real shit on how to be genuine and authentic out here in these streets, these trenches, in the corporate world, whatever world you in. Just be genuine. Be solid. You know what I mean?
And remember, young world, you know what I mean? It's all right to be yourself. It's all right to be a leader.
And don't forget to check out my homie, one of my good friends, Clay
Brother,
Moorefield, and the
friend.
SKNDP Apparel. You know what I mean? Support that line, support what he's doing, and remember, when shit's bothering you at the crib and you just can't get right,
And you ain't feeling right, you ain't
go
looking right.
see my homie Clay and
Go
go get a
see
fucking
him.
cycle or a dumbbell or something, a push-up, a squat, something. Get that off your motherfucking chest.
Workout.
And before we close, right, that's what I want to say something, man. I want to say something to a lot of the younger guys, man, and a lot of people, and young ladies, but people that still chasing money through illegal ways. Your life is valuable. Your life is valuable, and it's worth more than anything that you could acquire with money. And your actions affect other people, not just yourself. Your kids going to be affected, your parents going to be affected, your friends going to be affected, and your girlfriend or your wife is going to be affected. So don't be selfish. And one thing for sure, right? We doing it. People that's entrepreneurs and people that's living legit life, we doing it. We got the cars, we got the designer, we got houses, and we not jeopardizing our life for it. We working hard for it. We learning how important it is to understand your credit. We understand the importance of $1, and we understand the importance of
Keeping
our
a roof
lives
over our
and
head.
our time.
Yeah.
So just understand that y'all can get it, fellas. Ladies, y'all can get it. And ladies, don't keep wasting your time, your life, man, on these guys that life span is short. Because you're gonna be in a lot of pain. You're gonna be in a lot of pain, and you're gonna keep having to switch people up until you find somebody that's living a normal life. And I ain't saying that the person living a normal life is a good guy, but I'm just saying that the shelf life
Don't wait
is a
until you
lot
get
longer.
all dried up, powder poof, and you can't do nothing. Get it together.
Be like an
When
old
you
mattress.
live right, you do
Sunk
right,
in.
you feel right. Come on, y'all. You know what I mean? Thanks again, bro. I love you, man.
Thank you, man.
You know
Love
what
you
I'm
too,
saying?
baby.
And we can do this all the time. We trying to have Real Nigga Wednesday, so maybe you could come on here and help be a host on that thing every Wednesday. You know what I mean? Because
Shout out to our
kept it real.
sponsors. Shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
We going to shout out to the world, shout out to our city, you know what I mean? Stay tuned in, tap in that link, underworldmobileservice.com, you know what I mean? And we'll see you again on episode 2.
Peace.
Peace.